Alright, time to learn how to put this baby down in one piece. There will be lots of moving parts in this mission and much less time to ponder them. Therefore, it's a good thing that we're starting in a simulator. I have paused this lesson in order to go through all the steps while you are not actually flying the jet. Once I'm confident you know what should be done and in what order, I will unpause and let you try to land. I have changed the position of some of the switches so that you're actually going to have to flip them as part of the descent checklist. You know, it's good to start that muscle memory process early. You may be wondering about setting up the displays for landing, and there is no rule. It all comes down to personal preferences, but it's a good idea to have the ADI and the HSI up. Also, you might want to set up the TACAN to monitor and back up the approach. Okay, first thing is the descent check, done in both cockpits. In the front seat, you'll need to check the following knobs and switches. Set the master arm switch to safe. Check the altimeter setting. In this case, we have a standard 2992, so all is good. Check that the terrain following radar power switch is set to the standby or off position. Set the pitot heat and the engine heat switches as required. Again, we don't need them during this approach, so make sure they're set to off. And finally, the external lights. Position lights to desired brightness, let's say 4. Anti-collision lights on. In the back, your Wizzo would make sure that the CMD knob and the targeting pod switch are both in standby. Alright, descent checklist complete. In a moment, I'll unpause the lesson, but before I do, let me quickly guide you through all the steps. You will descend to 1600 feet AGL and keep 300 knots indicated, flying directly over the runway. Once you pass the middle of the runway, turn left, reducing throttle to idle. Do not descend during the turn. Stay at 1600 feet AGL. Your goal now is to roll out on the reciprocal heading to the runway and putting it somewhere between the missile rail on the wing and the wingtip once you complete the 180-degree turn. As your airspeed drops to 250 knots indicated, lower your landing gear and flaps. Once you are flying parallel to the runway at the reciprocal heading on the downwind leg, you will perform the landing checklist. This will consist of checking that the landing gear is down and locked, checking that your flaps are down, checking that the hydraulic gauges are in the green, checking that your landing light is on, checking that the anti-skid is in the normal position, checking that the parking brake is set to off. After you finish all of this, it will be about time for the base turn to final. Wait for the runway to be 45 degrees behind your left wing and your speed to drop below 200 knots indicated. You will push the nose down between 5 and 10 degrees and hold the AOA between 20 and 25 while turning to final. When you roll out on final, the goal is to keep the AOA between 20 and 22 all the way to the flare. Except with such AOA, there really is no flare. Just pull power and add speed brake as you cross the underrun. You have it all listed in your knee board if you want to go through it once again. Let me know when you're ready to unpause the sim. Okay, descend to 1600 feet AGL and keep 300 knots. Align yourself with the runway, magnetic heading of 119. You're a little low. Okay, get ready for that left-hand turn. 3, 2, 1, now. Throttle idle. Keep the altitude. You want to have the wingtip on the runway after you roll out. Gear and flaps down. Wings level at a heading of 299. If you've done it correctly, your left wingtip should be touching the runway. Before landing checklist, landing gear down, flaps down, hydraulic pressure green, landing light on, anti-skid normal, parking brake off. Commence the base turn, nose 5 to 10 degrees down, AOA between 20 and 25. Switch your scan between AOA and the runway. Try to roll out on the center line. Okay, on final, now keep the AOA at 20 to 22 degrees. Extend your speed brake and pull power, keep the AOA, do not flare too much. You've touched down. Keep the nose at 12 degrees for best aerodynamic braking. Once all 3 wheels are on the ground, engage the wheel brakes. Okay, close the speed brake. Retract the flaps. And leave the active runway. Very good. We'll talk about all the shutdown procedures some other time.